Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylee June and I'm a beauty and fashion photographer based near Sydney, Australia. But in the last couple of years, I created this channel to talk about all things creative, freelance, and business-wise. And today, we're going to be talking about 5 things you should not do as a creative freelancer. Now, I can think of a lot more than 5 things that you shouldn't do as a creative freelancer, but we're going to start with these 5 today, and maybe I'll do a part 2 on this matter. But these 5 things are something that I have done before, and something that I would not recommend doing, especially as a beginner freelancer or someone in the creative fields who is looking at creating their own business. This is definitely a video you need to watch today, and make sure you avoid some of these things. So keep in mind, I've suffered, so you don't have to. So let's get straight into the video today, and we're going to go through 5 things that you should not do as a creative freelancer. So the first thing that you shouldn't do is to always be a yes person. This is something that really came naturally to me, unfortunately, because I was such a people pleaser, especially in the early years of me starting photography and starting my own business. I would just say yes to everything, and I definitely think there's a time and a place to say yes to certain aspects. And a lot of people will tell you to say yes to everything in the beginning, and they are correct in one instance. Now, in terms of gaining as much experience as possible, that is 100% what you need to be doing when you're starting out. And I think that's really where that say yes to everything kind of comes into it, or even to, I guess, make an income, starting off and saying yes to everything. It makes sense to me in one aspect. Having said that, saying yes to everything can be a really toxic thing to start doing. And it can be a really bad habit to start doing. And especially if you don't know when to recognize what situations you shouldn't be saying yes to, or what jobs you shouldn't be saying yes to, or what kind of experiences are something that you could potentially do without. And I've come across a lot of these in my career, and definitely sometimes I felt like I have said yes to things that I wish I hadn't have. Now, whether that was maybe collaborating with the wrong people, and admittedly, sometimes in these circumstances, you're not always going to know before you collaborate with other creatives or people on a job or a test shoot whether, it's going to be a good experience or not. You're kind of going in blind to an extent. But I think there was definitely some warning signs that I could have picked up on it at certain points throughout my career. And definitely for some jobs, and knowing when people really just want to take advantage of you, especially as a young creative, and quite often they might want to pay the cheapest price possible for your product, whatever it is that you do, whether you're an illustrator or you might be a hairstylist, makeup artist, photographer, whoever you are and whatever you do. I think that this is something that will pop up at some point, and you'll have these instances where you kind of like have that gut feeling already that you don't want to do it, or you don't want to say yes to something, and then you do it anyway. That's usually those instances where you should probably hesitate a little bit more. Make sure that you're not working for free all the time, and that is not something that becomes a habit and being taken advantage of, I guess, especially as a photographer doing test shoots. Quite often you can be taken advantage of as a young photographer in terms of a commercial sense, and some of those images may make their way into commercial settings. And at the time, maybe you're kind of like, oh, it's good exposure, it's good for this, it's good for that. You really have to be careful of those situations and just be really hesitant, really think things through when you're taking on new opportunities and new potential jobs as a young creative. The second thing that you should not do as a creative freelancer is to ignore taxes and superannuation. Now, I believe in the US, you may call superannuation the 401k. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically like your little nest egg that you build over the years of working to put away for retirement. So really, ignoring taxes and superannuation in that sense is the worst thing you could possibly do. I'm not a tax accountant. I'm not a financial advisor, so I really can't give too much advice on this at all. But I will say it's something that you should get sorted initially, get it all up and running. Whenever you start your freelance business, make sure that this stuff is taken care of, because it can be very, very frightening to get yourself into a situation where you have to pay back a lot of money if you haven't put enough money away for taxes, for example. I know here in Australia, it might be a little bit different to around the world, but in Australia, if you don't keep up with those repayments, it can be a very scary situation to get into. If you dip into that tax money that you put aside, or if you don't put enough aside, that can really land you in hot water. So make sure that you speak to a tax accountant, you see someone about this very early on in your career, and you don't get into hot water with any of that. And same goes for superannuation. You don't want to be skipping out on that or not putting enough money away for that. Make sure that all your financials are taken care of. It's a really important thing. It's not always something that you think of doing because it sounds like a really boring topic a lot of the time for creatives, especially when you're starting your own business. It's the least attractive thing or least sexy thing to talk about. So definitely make sure it is all organized though, and make sure you've got someone helping you along with that. The next don't for creative freelancers is don't wait for work to come to you. I can't stress this enough. It is something that a lot of people will do. It's something that I have done in the past. And as soon as you start to wait for work to come to you, quite often it's not necessarily going to happen. You really have to make things happen as a creative freelancer. And really that means manifesting, and that means creating content, creating work, making sure that you're always kind of keeping yourself busy in some aspect or another within your business. Don't sort of sit back and wait for clients to come to you. You need to get your work in front of clients somehow. Pitching is something that I'm probably going to be talking a lot about on this channel, and it is something that most creative freelancers should really be considering, making sure that you're pitching your work out to potential clients and making sure that they can see you and you can be seen by potential clients, because this is the thing. A lot of the time people wait for the work to come to them, but unknowingly they're sitting back thinking that people can see their work, but quite often you're not getting your work in front of the right pair of eyes. So you really need to make sure that that is happening, and you can really do that by manifesting, by creating a lot of content, and by pitching. Now, number 4 could be one up for a little bit of debate here, but I would say in my own experience, it's something not to do, and that is to not have any structure to your working days. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not the type of person that can work to a very tight schedule. I love planning. I love that aspect of my business. I really love content planning and all the rest of that goes behind it. But in terms of sticking to a schedule, it's not my thing. It never has been. I don't think I've ever meant to be coloring inside of the lines and being too perfectionist with my days. So that's not what this point is about though. So if you don't feel like you're a person that sticks to a schedule very well, that's completely fine. I'm in that boat too, so I know how it feels. But one thing to consider is to maybe have some sort of structure. It doesn't really matter how small or how big, but some sort of structure to your working days. Now, even if that's that you have a to-do list that you get things done on, you prioritize your work for the day, or maybe you want to work between a certain amount of hours and you want to kind of pump out some work between the hours of 9 and 12 p.m. Whatever that structure is that you add to the day, make sure that there is some, because if you don't have any, I've found in my experience, it's way too often easy to procrastinate. And as the day goes along, things tend to be less likely to get done as well. So I think definitely having something implemented will help you out with that. Everyone is different in this circumstance though, but I would recommend maybe watching my video where I talked about sleep cycles, because adding structure to your day or planning out your day can really go in tune with your sleep cycle and when you prefer to wake up, when you prefer to go to sleep, and kind of when you are most energetic in the day. So check out the video that I did speak about this in, because I think it's a really interesting topic and there's many books you can read on this subject as well, but something to think about. And number 5 is to not skimp out on things that will help to make your business run smoother. Now, I will also preface this by saying I understand that not everyone can afford to get the most expensive subscriptions for their business. I completely understand that. There are some subscriptions like financial subscriptions and things like that that you need to implement that can work out very costly month to month. So I understand if some of the top subscriptions are just not for you at this point. Having said that, find out which subscriptions and what options for your business, whether it be a platform program, a planning system, whatever it is that helps you run your freelance business. And if that is going to save you a bunch of time and stress and agony in doing it all manually, make sure that you implement that stuff and make sure that you kind of really look at applying those systems or purchasing those systems for your business, because once again, it's not something that I really considered until much later on in my freelancing career. And when I actually realized how much time I could have saved if I just implemented some of those systems, it was actually maddening. I really was quite hard on myself at that point, because I was like, I could have been doing this the whole time. So this can be so many different things. It can be planning for your social media. It can be financial software. It can be so many aspects of your business that you might need to implement these workflows in. And sometimes they will be costly, or sometimes you'll need to purchase them. But in this instance, really find out those things that are necessary for your business and then kind of invest in those kinds of things. I would recommend. For me, actually, one of the best purchases I've made is a planning system for my Instagram and social media accounts. So I use Planoly. I've spoken about Planoly on this channel before. And recently I've actually partnered with Planoly this year, which is really exciting. So this is not actually a sponsored video necessarily, but I do have an affiliate link with Planoly. So if you're looking into getting a new planning system for your Instagram, I really recommend Planoly. I've been using them for many, many years now and can really highly recommend the system that they have, and you can find the link for them down in the description box below. So yeah, once again, don't feel like you need to do everything manually when you're first starting out, and especially if you do have a business fund, really look at making those kind of investments in things that will help to make your business run smoother. All right, guys, well, thank you so much for watching this YouTube video today. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure that you do, because I'll be posting a lot more content in future. Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on this topic and whether you think that some of these resonate with you, with some of these points that I've talked about today. Also, let me know what you want to see on my channel in future. But thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.